What is up guys, it is Ross, and welcome back to another Mario Kart Wii Limitless Vehicle Showcase. The randomizer today has given me the Flame Runner. And the Flame Runner is, well, as you would expect, it functions pretty much identically to how it does in vanilla. It is a bike that is defined by its amazing top speed, its good mini turbo, its weight is strong, its drift is passable, and obviously its acceleration, off-road and handling, they're not too good. So it's a very powerful vehicle, but also pretty punishing if you don't put its powerful strengths to use. We obviously thought that preserving Flame Runner's strengths from vanilla, because Flame Runner's the gold standard of vanilla, right? So preserving its vanilla identity was very much the way to go. Just so the vanilla player base wouldn't be alienated, you know? Because in Mario Kart Wii Limitless, we try to cater to a whole bunch of different players and different skill sets and whatnot. The Flame Runner actually has some noticeable buffs from vanilla, but they're pretty much universal. Its mini turbo duration, I don't know if you can notice it just from raw gameplay, but its mini turbo duration is quite significantly longer. It is 32 frames in vanilla, and I believe it is 46 frames in Limitless. And the reason for this increase is in order to basically make it so that bike mini turbos are not as short relative to kart mini turbos. And the reason why we've done that is so that karts and bikes have less polarizing playstyles relative to each other. Because obviously when you buff karts to make them able to compete, right? It becomes sort of like a track select war. Like kart players will just pick kart tracks, bike players will just pick bike tracks, and it becomes a bit messy. So by making karts' advantages and bikes' advantages more leveled compared to each other, it hopefully combats that at least a little bit. And I feel like this approach has kind of worked. You do have people like, excuse me, you do have people picking kart tracks when they're using kart in order to give bike players a direct disadvantage, but from my experience, this doesn't happen nearly as often as it did in earlier tracks, and I think that's a pretty good sign. Because in mods like Retro Rewind, that tends to crop up quite a bit. Especially because, you know, Ultra Mini Turbos came into the picture, which makes the dynamic between karts and bikes even more polarizing than it already was. The other universal buff that Flame Runner received is acceleration. Don't get me wrong, acceleration is still one of this thing's weaknesses. You can tell here that it's taking me a long time to get up to top speed without a standstill mini turbo. But basically, Limitless has a lot of different vehicle identities. Like, you've got speed vehicles, you've got handling vehicles, you've got mini turbo vehicles, you have acceleration vehicles, and with those archetypes being so close in terms of speed, so as to not make any of them fall behind too drastically, because, you know, it's a balancing mod, it can be very frustrating to get hit by so many things if you're using a vehicle whose main weakness is acceleration. And while yes, acceleration is a problem in the base game, pretty much everything that has good accel in the base game is it's unviable, if that makes sense. So the fact that accel vehicles with good recovery and accelerating abilities are actually worth using now, we figured it would be a nice quality of life change to just give every vehicle a little bit more acceleration on average to fall back on. So that people who like to use the Flame Runner in competitive play over other vehicles aren't snapping their controllers every other event, or every Mogi basically. Speaking of which, the Flame Runner, very popular vehicle in Limitless competitive play, which might shock a lot of people considering Limitless's status as a balancing mod with a lot of very goofy playstyles, but yeah, turns out people actually do like to use the Flame Runner, and I'll be honest, I do like messing about with the Flame Runner every now and then, even though it's not my type of vehicle. I don't know, it's just very fun to mess around with Mario Kart Wii's gold standard in like a new rebalanced environment. Like, you have so many threats that you need to counter and consider that simply don't exist in the base game because everyone is just on the exact same vehicle, and in my opinion that's quite monotonous and a little bit boring. Other people find enjoyment in that. They like think, oh, the skill expression in Mario Kart Wii boils down to the fact that everyone has the exact same skill set, and you know what? That's respectable. I can respect people that enjoy that, but personally I at least enjoy it when competitors have a wide variety of playstyle options, and Limitless does attempt to cater to that. But Flame Runner having such a well-established player base in Limitless just goes to perfectly reason that every vehicle has its audience, and obviously a vehicle like Flame Runner with no defining gimmicks, that's just a very powerful stat line, very, very dominant frontrunner with no particular favouring in speed or mini turbo. God, I worded that awkwardly. The fact that that is enjoyed by so many people is pretty good. It means that Limitless is doing its job catering to rebalanced and silly vehicles without going overboard and making it so that the vanilla playstyles are unusable. Because that's a pratfall that a lot of vehicle mods, the most notorious example being our Progenitor Rebalanced, that's a trap that they tend to fall into an awful lot. Like, Flame Runner tends to suffer immense power creep in those mods, and at least in the current version of Limitless, this hasn't happened to my knowledge. God, I thought this would be one of the shorter installments due to the fact that Flame Runner is so bog standard that I fear that I might not have much to talk about, but no, I'm rambling away here, holy shit. I will concede that even though Flame Runner is a very well-liked vehicle in Limitless comp, there's a sizable amount of players who like view the mods catering towards Flame Runner as a hindrance. And honestly, I can see it. I hope I don't forget about that banana I laid down the next lap. But yeah, base speeds in Limitless were actually way higher in previous versions. They were comparable to Rebalanced at one point. Like, those vehicles had crazy top speeds. But there were some players who, mainly those who enjoyed the base game playstyles that wanted to sort of ease their way into Limitless, who feared that the mod was too difficult to get into because the Flame Runner was changed too much. Like, it was faster, it drifted tighter to accommodate for those high speeds. Also, fast falling existed. That's a pretty divisive mechanic. Some people liked it, some people really hated it. Keeping it would have upset a lot of people, but to say the mechanic was missed would be a grave understatement. To make the mod easier to transition into for players that like enjoy the base game playstyles, we toned the universal speed of each vehicle down quite a bit. And some people think that that's done its job. Like, the mod remains well balanced despite such a massive change. Other people aren't quite as enthused. They appreciate the higher speed of the mod. They think that's where they get their enjoyment, and honestly, I can see both sides of the argument. It was a pretty divisive decision, but, you know, the vanilla people are happy at least, so hopefully they shouldn't be too alienated, and I personally think people will still enjoy the mod, like, even despite the speed decrease, that is to say. Anyways, that about wraps up another Mario Kart Wii vehicle showcase and developer commentary. I would like to thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to check out the previous installments if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the next ones when they come out. And until next time, that is Ross, signing out. Goodbye.